Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session created for a client that had a fear of flying. And what you're going to hear in this particular hypnosis session is levels of increased triggers for anxiety linked to beliefs and resources that he could handle the increased level of what in the past would have been a definite trigger for anxiety. There's a lot of people that feel that things have to be perfect in order for them to cope. And what they're doing is they're making the evaluation that if things aren't perfect weather, perfect conditions, then they're not going to be able to handle it. And unfortunately, that quite often creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where they're hypervigilant and trying to notice when something is out of the ordinary, something looks different, something seems worse. And then, because they're evaluating that is outside of their comfort zone, that's outside of what feels safe to them, that then triggers the sympathetic nervous system to make the evaluation that because they don't know how to handle this situation, you have the adrenaline and cortisol that typically comes from panic, which then feeds on itself. So what was really important is to give this particular client the resources and the beliefs that even if there were panicked passengers nearby, even if the conditions weren't great, even if it wasn't a super modern airplane, even if there was turbulence, he could still handle that and he would be okay. And in doing so, it does two things simultaneously. One, creates a new trigger to link to a belief system, which leads to a feeling of reassurance and comfort. But secondly, if you've entertained the idea of a worst case scenario that you can be okay with, most flights aren't scary flights. And therefore, you've kind of adjusted the perception of what is a threat or truly outside the comfort zone. So just a regular flight seems like a walk in the park. If you're listening to this, it might be that you have some kind of severe anxiety around flying, or perhaps a different phobia or anxiety. You have got the option of clicking the link in the show notes to schedule a free consultation call with me, but you might find that this session is helpful even though it was created for someone else. So the ideal way to experience this hypnosis session is to find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, to relax and to enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, that's it, just relax those eyelids. And just feel the sense that tension is leaving your body in your outward breath. And that's right. Breathing in, breathing out. That's it, just close your eyes. And in doing so, allow your focus to shift inwards. Humans have this incredible ability that for every sense that exists in the real world, it's mirrored in the internal world. You can see things in reality, but everyone knows that they have a mind's eye. and can picture things in their imagination, memories or the future. People can hear real sounds, and yet we have this inner dialogue, or the song we hear on the radio in the morning plays around on a loop in our mind for the rest of the day. And I want you to imagine that we're harnessing those internal senses to create a useful change, to mean a future with less anxiety and more choices. So I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a futuristic room. Whatever futuristic means for you is exactly what should be in this room. And in the middle of this futuristic room is a futuristic table. And on the top of that futuristic table is a state-of-the-art virtual reality headset. As you breathe in feelings of resourcefulness, you can exhale tension. And I want you to imagine there is some kind of scientist or professor there in that room that explains that this VR headset enables you to experience virtual reality as if it's reality. That your brain would not be able to differentiate. That the old VR headsets would have animations and graphics, but this VR headset would look like actual reality. The purpose of this VR headset would be to train your brain to deal with the worst case scenarios and to give you a sense of reassurance that you can handle it. I want you to think of you as your most resourceful. A time in your life that you dealt with stress and anxiety, many different variables, and yet you were the rock. You were the composed one. You were the one that were the swan on the surface of the lake, perhaps paddling frantically under the surface, but calm and graceful as far as anyone else would see. Tap into that feeling of being calm and graceful, that even if there is chaos and turbulence, you could still be smooth sailing. And then imagine what it would be like to put on that VR headset. And immediately, you're taken to what looks like the departure lounge of an airline. Maybe you can see a recognized airline just outside that large glass window. There's a very modern, very well-maintained aeroplane. A recognized airline in what's clearly blue skies and no wind. And you're wearing this VR headset, feeling like you're in the departure lounge of what is just a short flight, perhaps an hour, hour and a half. And I want you to feel in your body this feeling of calm and confidence. It's your time to board. Show your boarding pass, your passport. Board the plane. And just get this overwhelming sense of calmness and relaxation. You're more bothered about getting to your destination than anything else. Hear the click of the seatbelt. Feel relaxed. A few moments go by and then feel the acceleration of the aeroplane, and then feel that sensation of it taking off, climbing at altitude. Maybe you feel your belly go a little bit and just smile to yourself as you think, Just means I'm on my way. Imagine landing at the destination, and overall, there was almost no anxiety whatsoever. If anything, the evaluation was, it was a nice flight. Calm, relaxing. It was over before you knew it. And then imagine on this level 2, the VR headset teleports you to a different airport. Still in the departure lounge. You've checked in your luggage. But now you know that you're on a longer flight. Still daytime. Blue skies, but there is a little bit of cloud, a little bit of wind. It's a recognized airline, but never one you've flown with before. Maybe you're going to a country that you've never flown before either. But you know you've got this 3-hour flight. I want you to imagine that you board the plane. And the one key difference here at this level 2 flight is you're sat next to an anxious passenger. And maybe they're saying things like, oh, it's going to be so high. I won't be able to leave the plane even if I want to. And I want you to notice how it feels to be the voice of reassurance for this anxious passenger. You let them know that they'll be there before they know it. Just like driving a car or being a passenger on a bus. Just a form of transport to get you to where you need to get to. And then imagine it takes off. By you seeing how anxious the passenger next to you is, gives you a sense that you want to be a calming influence for them. So you make even more effort to be visibly relaxed, totally calm, giving them reassuring smiles, giving them a sense that everything is going to be okay. Before you know it, you're being offered a drink or a snack. Time goes by, told to put your seatbelt on because you're going to be landing soon. And you land and everything was fine. And that nervous passenger just says thank you. That by you being calm and relaxed, you help them to make what would be a difficult flight easier. And then just see level 3 on this VR headset. I want you to find yourself in a small airport. Looks busy, looks hectic. It's the evening. You've checked in. It's raining outside. No storms, but there is rain. You go through security, find yourself in the departure lounge. And you see a smaller, older budget airline. There's the plane outside your plane. You've got a 5-hour flight. And I want you to tap into this idea that everything is fine. You can handle this. Nothing at all to worry about. Feel that confident, relaxed, easygoing part of you. Smile as you show your boarding pass and passport. You board the plane. Put your luggage perhaps in the overhead cabin. You're aware that it's raining outside, but you've got complete trust that any pilot flying a plane has flown many, many times in night or rainy conditions. Feel how you would feel when you're accelerating, takes off. Breathing in from the diaphragm, exhaling. And just notice that as soon as you're up to that level altitude, you've got this desire to recline the chair and just perhaps have a little nap. But I want you to imagine there's an old voice that comes up in your head, maybe a voice of the past. They will start an evaluation, but I want you to finish the evaluation. Maybe their evaluation is, I'm not safe. And you could just continue that sentence. You could say, I'm not safe if I was in a cage full of lions. Or they might say, I'm really, really high. And you could just continue that sentence. Of course, like I've been on every single flight I've ever flown. You're high, and then when you land, you're not. And notice that as you end these anxious thoughts, all anxiety just goes away, giving you a feeling of being in control. You see that anxious passenger also happens to be on this flight. But again, you feel this urge to be the calm, relaxed one, making it completely okay for them also to feel relaxed. So maybe you make a little joke, ask how they are, give them a feeling of it's completely okay to be a bit anxious, but this isn't that long a flight, just 5 hours, and we'll be landing soon. Breathe in, feeling of resourcefulness. And then before you know it, it's time to land. And just feel that you have landed in that destination 5 hours away. Feeling that you're ready for the next level. A level where there's going to be a 10-hour flight, flying over an ocean. This is going to be a more challenging flight, but your overall attitude is, bring it on, I can handle it. In fact, almost any thought of anxiety that comes into your mind, you can close that loop just by saying, and I can handle it. You're going to be flying over an ocean, and I can handle it. You're going to be so many kilometers above the ocean, and I can handle it. You've never flown this far before, and I can handle it. And just by reassuring the evaluation that you can handle it, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where the very chemicals required for anxiety, like cortisol and adrenaline, never get released because you never make the evaluation that you're not safe and in control. You might not be in control of the plane, but you are in control of your own thoughts. Even if a thought starts, you can end it. So just imagine you're boarding that 10-hour flight, and I want you to think of a destination that's about 10 hours away from you. You know, there's going to be day changes, covering multiple time zones. I want want you to get a sense that you can handle it. You take off and it was fine. You sleep a bit and it's fine. Maybe you watch a movie, have a meal, maybe do something else. And then suddenly there's an announcement on the intercom. Please fasten your seatbelts because we're about to experience some turbulence. And the moment you hear the word turbulence, just say to yourself, there's going to be turbulence and I can handle it. Everything's going to be fine. And that calm, reassuring voice from yourself to yourself, in fact, does mean that you can breathe slowly, deliberately, almost like you're trying to blow out a candle that's 2 meters in front of you. And I want you to feel the plane shake. Maybe there's a few people looking stressed or anxious. Maybe some kids are crying. But your inner dialogue is, I can handle this. I will handle this. Everything is going to be fine. But I want you to imagine for a good 10 or 15 minutes, the turbulence was pretty intense. But at every point, you made the evaluation that you can handle it and you would be fine. And then the turbulence levels off. The intercom announcement says that you can undo your seatbelts now. We're through the turbulence. And I want you to get this feeling of congratulating yourself that you remained calm and composed on a long flight with difficult conditions. And I want you to imagine you're in that new country, but there's an internal flight. And this internal flight requires a smaller plane. One of those old propeller planes. Just imagine that you don't board through one of those airline tubes that you go straight from the airport onto the plane. You've got to walk out, board the plane on one of those steps. And you get a sense that this is a small plane, perhaps only a total of 4 seats per row. This isn't a recognized airline. You don't even know if this airline's been around very long. Everyone around you on this plane looks stressed and anxious. But you still make the evaluation that I'll be fine. If I can handle this, I can handle anything. So imagine the strange noise it makes when you hear the propellers start to turn. Very different from the sound of a jet. But it's a smaller plane, meaning that wind and weather conditions have more impact on a plane like this than a large jet. It takes off, but not in a smooth way. A bit of a roller coaster. Messes with that feeling of kind of balance in your ears, or your belly goes a bit. But the evaluation is always, I can handle this. You can almost make the evaluation that it's fun, like a roller coaster. That's it. Breathing in resources, exhaling anxiety, inner dialogue, strong, calm, confident, finishing off the sentences of any anxiety. And I want you to imagine you're lower than you normally would be on a jet. Maybe you can see cities or trees, lakes perhaps underneath you. And I want you to feel this plane is being moved from side to side depending on gust of wind, the different thermals, the different weather pressures. And every time it moves, you can hear people screaming or shouting or gasping. And yet you can feel calm. I want you to be the lighthouse, the person that people look to as, well, if they can be calm, then I can be calm too. And then I want you to imagine there's just a few moments of severe turbulence, but on a small plane like this, it's throwing you up and down. Lots of people are very, very anxious, panicking, and yet you are the source of composure. You're in a country where you don't know the language. You couldn't ask for help if you wanted it, but you don't need the help. You're giving the help. You're giving the help by being the source of reassurance and calm and composure that people need to see in someone, and that someone is you. Very soon the turbulence goes away, and you're about to depart. About to land there in this regional airport. Everyone seems to have calmed down a bit. And then feel like it lands, but it's a bumpy landing. This small plane swerving a bit on that runway as it lands. And then you depart. And you depart with a smile on your face, knowing that you've completed the ultimate level. Making the evaluation that if you can deal with a flight like this, then you can deal with a long-haul flight across an ocean. You can deal with a 5-hour flight in the rain on a budget airline. You could definitely deal with a 3-hour flight to somewhere you've been before. And a short flight is just a walk in the park. So as you breathe in and breathe out, just imagine taking off that VR headset, putting it back on the table in that futuristic room, getting a sense that you feel ready and capable to play this game in your real life, with an overall sense that I can handle it, bring it on. As you return to the present, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes as I count from 1 to 10. You will awaken feeling alert, optimistic, feeling much more confident about flying in the future. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.